What's going on, everybody? Luis Trevino here, CEO at Engage. I am on the line with the success interview with Dr. Kevin McCaffrey, based out of Miami, Florida. Am I correct saying that?
Yeah, West Palm Beach. Yeah,
West Palm Beach. All right, there we go. Dr. Kevin, I mean, you've already been you crossed the 100K barrier a few weeks ago. So you're already in the 100K club. You're going to get some cool stuff from us here in the next few weeks. But congratulations. How does it feel?
Feels good. I wish I would have done it sooner, to be quite honest with you. I was always hesitant to do any type of marketing. We'd always done like go out to lunch with the dentist, go out to dinner with the dentist, go give out stuff at the schools, give a hygiene presentation, give an annual dinner, but never really dipped my toe into the online marketing space.
Yeah, and actually it was funny because you guys came on board, but then you didn't start till like months later. I was remembering that.
Yeah, so I had a couple different things going on with the practice. I was transitioning from the previous owner, and we had a lot of irons in the fire, and I wanted to make sure that when I got started with the campaign that I had the bandwidth to be able to see additional new patients, and that all my systems and protocols were firing on all cylinders, basically.
Sure. Super cool. So you guys took a while to start. You had some things going on. This was the first time that you did anything similar to what we're doing now. Like, you had never run ads for Facebook before. What about Google? Had you done Google stuff before?
Never. No. I mean, the only thing we had done is, I think once or twice, we basically, if you log into Facebook from your business page and they have a post that's getting a lot of interaction, they'll ask you if you want to boost it.
Yeah.
For like $10. I think we boosted like 2 posts.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing we've done with online marketing is just trying to really ask patients for our Google reviews, if they're happy with the service they've been provided.
For sure. So you're taking over this new practice for how long? How long have you been at the reins of the practice now that you've taken over?
So I purchased the practice about 3 years ago. The senior dentist, who was in his 70s, practiced 50 years or so.
Wow.
He practiced with me for 2 years. We practiced side by side, and then he phased out about a year ago. So I've had the practice myself a year. I implemented some changes, and then once I felt like things were stable, maybe growing a little bit, I was like, okay, we can have. That's the other thing. He wasn't working every day of the week. He was working more like part-time basis. So I knew I could work more, and I needed more patients in the door, basically.
For sure. Gotcha. Okay. And then so what was it that kind of tipped you over the edge and you're like, maybe I should give this a try? You know what I mean? Like, maybe I should be doing some of these things.
So to be honest with you, I talked to a friend who has his hand really deep in the orthodontic, space. He's an orthodontist out in Texas that I went to residency with, and he researches everything. Like, he's very detail oriented, and he had been looking at 2 separate companies, yours and one other, and he didn't know for sure what he was going to do yet. So I just said, I figure if he's got it narrowed down to 2 out of the thousands of companies out there, I can't go wrong with either one. So I just pulled the trigger, and I said, I'll see what happens. And throw something against the wall, see if it sticks. I mean, I'm not afraid to try something, and then if it doesn't work, I can try something else. But sitting around doing nothing isn't going to grow your practice.
100%. Yeah. And I mean, and part of what we're offering is very low risk too. Like kind of like the barrier entry is not that, big, or, you know what I mean? So
yeah, well, I'm very goal driven, and I like to be objective.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was only paying for patients that show up to my practice, you really can't lose.
Yeah.
The amount that I'm paying per patient to come to my office is far less than what we normally spend on other marketing efforts. If you look at the actual return on investment or the cost it gets to get a patient in the door, basically. So I figure unless my office is just so bad that the patient doesn't want to start with us, or they don't like me for some reason, that's on me. But based on the cost to acquire the patient to come into the door, even if half the patients find a good fit with our office and they find it affordable enough for their needs, it would definitely be worth the investment. I just wasn't really sure how many patients would see the ads in our area. You think you live in this bubble where there's a certain number of patients, and once the patients are distributed among the local orthodontists, there's no more patients to be treated. But as we know, there's always more patients, and a lot of people just don't maybe have the information available to them. But when they're scrolling through their phone, which people are on their phones all day, every day, and they're on Facebook, why would you spend money? I mean, not a yellow page ad, but why would you spend money on flyers or direct to mail? I mean, I just throw any mail I get away that's basically not, personal mail to me. I don't even look at it.
Yeah.
So people are on their phones all day. They're on Facebook all day. It's a good place to have your face as well.
For sure. 100%. And so take me back a little bit. Like you said that at the time, like, you were talking with this gentleman, friend of yours, that narrowed it down to 2. You decided just to pull the trigger with us and ultimately see what happened, right? But take me back further. Like, why were you, like, what was going on in your business or in your life that you were like, I need to do something? Like, was there, I don't know, some event that had happened that you were like, man, like, I'm just tired of, or I'm not getting enough referrals from the dentist, or we're just not growing at the speed I want to be growing at?
That's part of it. I think when my predecessor was practicing for the last 50 years, a lot of the dentists just sent him all their patients. They didn't try to do any ortho themselves. They didn't have an orthodontist coming into their office. And as dentistry has changed, a lot of dentists will do orthodontics in their office. They will do Invisalign. They will hire an orthodontist to come work out of their office a couple days a month. And so the referral patterns have changed, and that means that my marketing strategy also needs to change.
For sure.
And to be honest, I'm kind of the type that I'm always going to be looking for something to make my practice better or to grow it. I think if I was had all the patients I could handle, I'd still be looking for ways to get better or more patients in the door.
Yeah, for sure. You're that type of person. No, that's awesome. No, that's really good. And I want to highlight something that you said, because we've been seeing this a lot, obviously, right? That it's like, we've heard from multiple orthos that we work with that just the referral basis isn't as good as it used to be, right? Like you said, I mean, your predecessor used to just do all his business when people were referring out, but nowadays it's like you have to go direct to consumer if you want to grow, just because people are not, dentists aren't referring, like they're trying to get into the space. You have other, big corporations that are getting into the space. You have tech startups that are getting into the space, right? Like,
Well, that's just what I was going to say. I mean, there's more and more pediatric dentists that are being bought by corporations that no longer have maybe as much control over their referral patterns. They might have an orthodontist that's part of the same company. So, and they're definitely they're definitely marketing direct to consumer.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, if you have a hometown feel, you have that personalized customer service feel when people call you, I think you can compete with them with digital marketing just as well. You may not have as big of a budget, but you also may not have as big of a geographical area and many locations that you have to service. So
for sure. No, that's good. And I like what you said, because it's like, I feel like a lot of the times, we get stuck in the old way of doing things, which is for most orthos, it's, their business grew because of this referral basis. But a lot of the times, like, especially if you want to survive, but then also thrive, right? Like, it's like you have to adopt the best practices that are available today, right? And like part of it is, like we said, going direct to consumer, but it is literally figuring out the acquisition game, right? Like the advertising game, like, and so because now, and this is like the really great thing about it, is that like now that what your cost of acquisition is and you want to scale accordingly, well, now you can work backwards to help, like, okay, well, if it's taking me $150 or $200, whatever it is, to acquire a new patient, and my goal is to get 30 patients per month, 50 patients per month, I know what it's going to take to get there. Whereas a lot of people are just kind of throwing things at the wall, hoping something sticks. And then even when something does work, they don't really have the numbers in place to identify how they can actually scale that. Does that make sense?
It does. And for me, another big thing, I do like the fact that we are given metrics each month about the number of patients that came in and the number of patients that started, because before we were spending a lot of money on a lot of different marketing efforts. We had stuff spread out everywhere, but I didn't really know what was bringing in patients. And now I know for a fact I spend a certain amount with Engage. I get this many patients in the door and this many started. So now when I have a new opportunity and a school wants me to sponsor their dinner for $5,000, for me to put my name on the t-shirts, I can think, well, how many new patients is that in my door? is that going to get me this many patients from this event? Is it worth it for me to sponsor?
Yeah.
And it may not be a direct one-to-one correlation, but it's enough information for me to make more educated decisions when I'm spending my marketing dollars going forward.
Yeah, and you start to see your business as what it really is. It's an investment, right? Like obviously we're in business because we put money in and we expect money to come out, right? And so it's, investment. And then now you
can do the best orthodontics in the world, but a lot of patients, they know if you're nice to them, they know if their bite feels good, and they know if their teeth look straight. But the minute details of how everything else happens, a lot of times they're uneducated, so they don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, to have a successful business, you can't just be a great orthodontist.
Yeah. You have to be a good business person too, right? So that's awesome. So that kind of allows us to go into this segue of like, we understand that it takes two elements in order for our program to work, right? Like we said earlier, like it has to be, marketing needs to be on point. And like I said, you said like you can be the best ortho, but if people aren't seeing you, if people aren't coming to you, then what's the point, right? And so what, to what you're willing to tell us, right? What would you say are some of the things that have helped you guys provide such a great experience for your patients, which in turn has helped you all get a lot of people starting treatment?
So, first and foremost, I think it's every interaction the patient has, every contact point, every touch point with the office. So even before a potential patient saw our ad on Facebook, they might have already heard something about our office or had a friend that went here and said it was good, or their dentist might have already mentioned our name. So if you don't have that, I think that you're setting yourself up for success when they see your ad and they already have a good mental image of your office in their mind.
Yes.
So that's just, it can't be just one thing. You have to have your whole office system and culture in a way that pleases patients, pleases the referring dentist. So then once they see the ad, that has to continue. The expectations that they think about you or what they've seen from your ad or what they've heard when they call the office, they want to be, you want to answer the call with the first ring or two. You want to call patients immediately back if they call after hours, call them back, the next morning. You want to have a nice, friendly greeting. Then when they come to the office, you want somebody to greet them and smile. You want your treatment coordinator to be bubbly and personable and not keep them waiting. When at all possible, these patients are scheduling appointments on Facebook. They obviously like the convenience. Are you sending them digital paperwork ahead of time? Are you reaching out to them digitally to introduce yourself potentially? Yeah. Those are all things that help them mentally commit to you before they haven't even set foot in your office.
For sure. Yeah, no, definitely. And I guess that being said, so we book an appointment on your all's calendar. Do you guys call them to just kind of build that rapport and get them excited for the appointment, or you just let our software kind of do its thing?
We usually try and at least confirm them in one way or another, whether it be through an email, text, or a phone call.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that's awesome. So we definitely do recommend. Go ahead.
It's tough too, because some patients depending on their age, do some patients even want a phone call, or is that a bother to them? Is it better if you just text them and say, hey, by the way, we just emailed you our new patient forms?
Exactly.
Or do they want that personalized greeting and voicemail left?
For sure.
Some days I don't mind a call. Some days I wish people would stop calling me. So
yeah. And I think part of it too has to do where you're based out of, right? And what's your demographic? Are people okay with receiving phone calls? Me personally, at the end of the day, I'm a millennial, right? I don't like picking up the phone, right? I prefer text messages. I will if I have to, right? But it's it just really depends. And so I would say for, I guess, anybody listening, it's really identify what people in your area are, what they're used to and what they like and they don't like, and then kind of try to adjust what you're doing for them so that you can ultimately, because from what we've seen more than anything, it's trying to get those little micro commitments that we talked about, whether it's a phone call, whether we send them a text so they can fill out their paperwork prior to coming in, text messages, the personal touches of the video, of a picture before they're coming in, like we talked about earlier, right? Those are all little touch points that is helping them, get them to know you, like you, and trust you before they ever even come into the practice, right? And like you said, I think part of what makes even our campaign successful is if the doctor already has a great, brand, or is already well recognized in their community. We see a lot that like people will see the ad and then existing patients will go on there and comment and just say, oh yeah, I love Dr. McCaffrey. Like I go there all the time. I've got all my stuff there. And that creates social proof. And when other people, that maybe aren't patients see it, it's like, it already creates like this sense of like, oh yeah, this guy's legit. Yeah. Like I should go get my, my teeth fixed with this person. Cause it seems like they have great. Your Google reviews, you have more than 600 Google reviews, right? Obvious, like all 5 stars. So like all those things, like it's a comprehensive thing that come together to ultimately, I think, attributes to the success that you guys had, because you guys are skyrocketing.
We put in a lot of work for that. Unfortunately, what I've come to realize, and I don't remember where I heard it, but there's 1,000 little things you can try to do to get more Google reviews. Yeah. But the doctor looking the patient in the eye and physically, verbally asking for that Google review right there while the patient's in the office, that has been, I'll take credit for it. That's been what's grown our Google reviews. Nice. I was never one to want to, I heard it was illegal. I don't know. But I was never one to give people money or a gift card to do a Google review. We've never done that. Yeah. But I will ask patients for Google reviews. Almost any patient that's getting their braces off, any patient I feel like is just in a good mood, I try to do it 3 or 4 times a day. And if 2 of those do it, after a month, you got 60 Google reviews. Well, we don't work that many a month, but the thing is, what that forces you to do as well is you can't be a bad orthodontist and not be personable and not do good work and then ask for a Google review. It's not going to work. Yeah. So that also holds my office and myself to a higher standard. If I know I'm going to ask a patient for a Google review, I better smile at them, I better greet them, I better treat them as a VIP, so that when they leave that Google review, it's 5 stars, it's not 2 stars.
For sure. No, yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And so, we talked about like when the patient comes in, you guys are obviously treating them really well. You guys are trying to get some type of micro commitment from them, whether you guys are calling them or through the text messages, right? Or them filling out that paperwork. Once they come in through the door and they're there, like, how do you guys go about do you guys do anything special or specific in the consultation process that you guys has helped you guys get more of that positive response from patients?
So my treatment coordinator has been with me for 35 years. Well, I say been with me. She's been with the office for actually 36 years now. So I actually put my foot in my mouth one time and said that she'd been with the practice longer than I'd been alive, which is true. And so I couldn't just come in and change everything because she's very talented and there's no way you can ever replace that much knowledge. So I kind of just let her do her thing. But I did, one of the biggest things that helped grow our practice is we started doing more aligners because the previous doctor didn't do a lot of aligners. So I was able to, when we started doing more aligners, I was able to promote to her the benefits that I saw with the aligners, and then also the benefits of as a doctor. I'm board certified. We have more availability now than we used to. So I kind of just let her do her thing, and I trusted her. I empowered her. And it's worked out really well.
And I guess this kind of brings up a good question. Like, obviously she has a ton of experience. She's been working there for a very long time. I think one of the important things that a lot of people miss sometimes is that like continuing education, but then also like training them on, maybe giving them the resources that they need to actually do better. Like if you were talking to, another ortho and maybe they're struggling with their TCs, like, I don't know, what would you say in regards to like, yeah, man, like you guys need to do this. Like you need to invest in sales training. You need to invest in just overall like community or culture training. Like, I don't know, anybody who's struggling when it comes to that, like what?
Well, 100%. Whenever I can, I bring her with me to my continuing education because there's no way you're not going to learn something. Yeah. And what do you spend on a CE lecture for the day, especially if it's one directed toward treatment coordinators or orthodontics? You might spend a couple $100. Well, if she gets, one more start throughout the whole course of the year, it pays for, 5 days of CE. And I'm obsessed with lifelong learning. I listen to Audible. I probably already read or listened to 15 books this year. And the same thing with podcasts, the same thing with webinars. But a lot of times I'll just listen and soak up as much as I can and take the 2 nuggets out of the hour presentation and mention them to my treatment coordinators the next day. Why don't we try this? Do it for a week, get back to me and see how it went.
Yeah, no, that's good. And so right now you guys said you talk about the aligner. So you're primarily pushing Invisalign, is that correct? Or do you do some other type of clear aligner in-house?
We only do Invisalign. I had a couple bad experiences early on using competitive aligner brands, and I just realized that their product wasn't as sophisticated, as efficient, or as advanced. And I realized Invisalign cost a lot more, but I realized if I want to have a good reputation in the community and have good results, I need something I can trust to work with. So yeah, we exclusively use Invisalign.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, and I mean, looking at your stats, like, you know, obviously you're performing really well, but compared to some of our other orthos who are just doing Invisalign, like you guys have some of the best, you know, conversion numbers that we've seen. So that was, you know, that's awesome, man. Like you guys are doing a great job.
I'll throw a feather in your cap. I happened to be at a conference 2 weeks ago and I ran into some other online marketers that were trying to get my business, and the numbers they were telling me about some of their clients that they were impressed with, the return on investment, did not impress me after hearing them, because I know what mine is. And so I was like, well,
that makes me feel good.
you know, their marketing seemed pretty slick, but I was like, I can't entertain even working with you if you're presenting me numbers that I far surpass.
Yeah, I know I mean, and that's the nice thing about the dashboard and it being real time. Like at any point in time, we could always go in and see like how well it's performing, right?
So, so I'm excited about that. I didn't know about the dashboard. I've never been on the dashboard. It's all been, I don't even know if we have access to the dashboard yet, or if we're on.
I mean, Andrea's on it all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's where I get my Excel spreadsheet. So what she does for me each month is she sends me an Excel spreadsheet of what we paid that month, how many patients came in, and the contracts that we were able to start that month in production. For sure. And you know, every month I check it and I just make sure it's something I want to continue investing in, and it would be silly not to. As you know, we spoke with Al this morning, and we'd actually like to put a little bit more money into our marketing.
Yeah, we're gonna start doing more, you know, putting more on Facebook, putting a little bit more on Google. So that'll be really good, because it's just about having the process streamlined. And I feel like once you get it down and you understand the nuances of this type of campaign, because I feel like a lot of the issues that we tend to have is that like people are not used to dealing with a cold lead, or let's just say not as hot of a lead, because it's either cold or warm, right, coming into the practice. When they're coming off of like a Facebook or social media or just any other type of proactive advertising, it's a different sale than a referral. Referrals coming in, they're already sold. You know what I mean? Like that's not, let's be honest, like that's not selling, dude. Like if you don't have a 95% close rate on a referral, I mean, like, come on, what are you doing? Yeah, right. I might be exaggerating, but you know, at least like a higher number.
Well, you know, you make me laugh, because I had at this conference last week, the orthodontist said, he said, we don't give sibling discounts. And somebody said, what, you don't give sibling discounts? Like, why not? He's like, if you need to give them a discount to get their sibling to start treatment with you after you've been treating the other sibling for 2 years, you suck as an orthodontist. Like, they shouldn't think to go anywhere else. I was like, that's actually a really good point. I mean, we've traditionally given a sibling discount as a courtesy, but
yeah,
you know, that's the one person you actually probably shouldn't have to give a courtesy to, because they should only want to come to you based on the quality work you provided.
For sure. The quality of work and the experience that they had at the practice, like that they love the experience. Do they feel great coming in? Do they feel even better when they leave? You know what I mean? Like those are all little things that ultimately make a big difference. Like you're selling an experience, not just like this treatment, right?
Yeah.
So
another reason I trust you guys is because ever since I did that testimonial for you, I have probably 2 to 3 people every day text me pictures of me in their news feed. They're like, Kevin, I saw you. You're in my news feed again. You're in my news feed. I'm like, Engage knows what they're doing apparently, because they're definitely targeting all the dentists that they're out there.
Well, hey man, don't feel like you need to like talk to these guys about us all the time, because I know it can get a little annoying. Like, and I'm just like, if they call you, dude, it's like you can definitely turn them down.
Mostly it's my friends. My friends reach out to me.
Okay.
I'll just tell them, yeah, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I appreciate that. That's awesome. No, and so like what I was saying is like, we can really figure out this process, and I feel like think about like orthodontics and then where it's at now, and then where it's going to be 10 years from now. It's like, it's only going to get more competitive. It's only going to be more challenging. Mm-hmm. And if we really want to scale, right, like, and keep doing what we're doing, right, like, you have to adapt. You can't just follow the old way of, I don't even know if I'm pretty sure they don't talk about a lot of this stuff in ortho school, right? Like,
not at all.
Yeah. And it's like, you have to you have to figure this out. Like, you have to figure this out, because guess what? This is exactly what these other guys are doing. And if we can be a little bit more laser targeted with our campaigns and how we're going about acquisition, and really figure out the sales process in the back end, then they're going to get great results, right?
Well, the other thing is, especially for any new businesses, they're no longer competing with the guy down the street. They're competing, more than likely, at least a couple offices in their town are owned by a DSO, whether they know it or not. And you better believe that they have an entire marketing team figuring out how to get patients in their office, how to spend money on the right AdWords. And if you're not at least in the game, your future is going to be short, because every town is going to have that in their town within the next 2 years if it's not there already.
For sure.
The DSOs are extremely aggressive right now, which makes, as an independent office, you need to have your ads on point.
Yeah, I say all the time, like, you got to adapt, you got to innovate, and you got to grow. Like, you can't just stay where you were at like a few years ago. Like, you have to keep always looking at what's new, what's the best practice, like what are these guys doing that we can reverse engineer and implement here, so that we can just keep getting the best results possible. So that's really, I appreciate your insight into that. Let me shift gears a little bit and talk about like financing, because I know that's like a big thing that everybody talks about. And you guys, I know the gold standard for an orthodontist is doing in-house financing, but you're doing a lot of aligners. So for aligners, do you also do the in-house financing, or are you trying to supplement with doing some type of like Care Credit, Green Sky? I don't know, something along those lines, or are you all pure like in-house?
We've actually that's one of the hurdles we're trying to address right now. I like to think that any patient that comes to our office would start treatment with us if money was not an issue at all. Yeah. And unfortunately with aligners, it is an issue. Braces might cost, you could probably get a set of braces for $100. Yeah. So you could basically do no down payment and then just start them on monthlies, and you're not going to lose your shirt. Whereas with the aligners, you got a $1,900 lab bill. We don't check credit scores or anything like that. For a while, we were trying to use a company called Lending Point, because Lending Point, basically they'll charge you a merchant fee, but then they'll basically they give the patient a loan essentially. You get paid 100% up front. So the patient loan is going to paying our office and paying a merchant fee. But their contracts were a little bit confusing in the way they presented their financing fees. And I felt like our patients were going to get taken advantage of. Like, they kind of set you up to be on this 18% interest loan without you realizing it, because you can choose a lower monthly payment, which they also don't mention that it extends it to like 80 payments instead of 30 or whatever. So
yeah. And do you recall if they had like prepayment penalties or anything like that?
No prepayment penalty. No, you could pay it off ahead of time, but they don't make it very clear. And at the time, you could not set up auto pay. So you couldn't automate to pay it on time. Yeah. So you would have to call every month and make an additional payment. And if you were late by like a day, you automatically get locked into the 80-month term that's at 20% interest or whatever. So like,
they're kind of setting you up for failure.
I had a patient that was like a $6,000 fee, and he was going to end up paying $11,000 for his treatment, which I didn't feel good about. So we explained it to him. He's going to know how to pay it off, but like, it was a lot of hoops to jump through. So I wish. And I think Care Credit also right now might be unveiling a program where they do some better terms for patients, or they lower the merchant fee to 0 for a while. But it'd be great if there was a way that patients could get started, have lower monthlies, and then our office wasn't putting out so much risk to get them started without $2,000 down, you know?
So currently that's what you're doing. Like, you're doing in-house, you're asking them for a hefty deposit so that, you know, you can at least cover your lab fees, and then you're doing monthly payments on that, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I actually would love to talk to you a little bit more about that, because we might have I'm trying to find a few different providers that we're trying to partner with so that we can provide better solutions for our clients. So I might have two.
I've heard about Green Sky too, but I haven't.
Yes. So I actually spoke to one of the VPs of Green Sky this past Tuesday. And if you want, I'm a little familiar with their programs. I just had one meeting with them. I can introduce you if you want, because essentially we're trying to work out a deal where anybody that we refer over, they'll give them their DSO fees.
Oh,
which I believe is, I think he mentioned it was 2% less than Care Credit.
Awesome.
So yeah, and they have, I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a little bit. Yeah. That'd be cool. Well, man, that's really good. I mean, I don't know, I guess just to kind of finish off the interview for today, right? Like, anybody that, I mean, I don't know, like, what would you tell an ortho that is currently struggling and bringing on new patients, and not necessarily just in regards to working with us, just in general, like, what's your advice for just somebody who maybe maybe they were successful before, maybe they're struggling right now, whether it's just with marketing or either with sales and operations, like, I don't know, just any final thoughts and advice as to what it maybe, anything that you would want to leave them with.
The biggest piece of advice I could give any new ortho that's struggling with growing their business is that the fact that you got into ortho residency means you're at the top of your dental class. The fact that you finished ortho residency means you're a good orthodontist and you can do orthodontic care. But if you want to have a business that's going to survive, you've got to establish yourself with new patients as soon as possible. And you have to spend money to get patients in the door. There's no other way around it. The more patients you get in the door and finish their cases beautifully, then those patients can start referring you their friends and family and coworkers. But you got to get a solid foundation of patients in the door. And more every 2 years, well, more every day, but every 2 years, all your patients leave. So it has to be a continuous cycle of new patients. Yeah. And the sad truth is, orthodontics is only going to get more competitive every year. Between DSOs, and they're graduating double the number of orthodontists this year than they were 10 years ago. You know, so many new schools are popping up. So the sooner you can get patients to your practice, establish yourself as a reputable office, the better long-term shot you have at being around and being an established, well-positioned office. But if you want to grow organically on your own at 3% a year, good luck, because you know online marketing is gonna wipe you out if you don't have a real solid presence.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like, you know, this is obviously a tough point and a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. It's like, yes, like, you are great at what you do. Nobody's arguing that. The problem is that, like, it's just not enough. Like, I'm sorry, like, you know, like, the world is not like nice, you know, just rainbows all the time. Like, if you want to succeed, you have to implement more, you know, you have to know more about business, and you have to do more, right? And so it's not just like the fact that you're just a lot. I've you know, because I have these conversations all the time. I have salespeople have these conversations all the time. It's like, yeah, I get it. Like, you're an ortho, you went to school and you got all these things, but it's just not enough. You're not entitled to patients just because you have this schooling. You have to put in the effort to, again, adapt, innovate, and then you're going to start to see growth because of that. You have to do more. So yeah, that was beautifully said. I appreciate that. And then just as the last thing to finish off, like, I mean, you know, I really appreciate the video that you did. I guess, like, anybody who is on the fence about working with Engage or anything like that, I mean, what would you say to them? Hopefully this kind of cuts some time and not a lot of people reach out to you anymore. Maybe they'll see this.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're not doing online marketing, I gotta be honest, you're the first company I've ever worked with, but from what I've heard, I'm getting phenomenal results, phenomenal ROI. I'm very happy with the decision I made. And, you know, there's really no downside to trying it out for a couple months. You know, let's say you pay Engage to do your marketing for you and you don't get the return on investment that you wanted. Well, 2 new patient starts are going to pay for whatever you pay them for several months. So it's almost silly not to go ahead and do it. And you can always change paths later on. But after, you know, I guess it's been 4 months with your company, you know, we had the best year we ever had, and it was COVID. So I think that's saying something for the direction that they've been leading us.
We're low risk, guys. Like, I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We tried it, right? But at least like we're less of a risk than your traditional marketing company that's just going to charge you a large retainer. I know guys out there that are charging, you know, $4,000 to $7,000 a month just to have them on retainer, right? So
the company I was talking to 2 weeks ago that was trying to get my business, their full service fee with the ads, and they wanted a 12-month contract, it was going to be $100,000 commitment.
I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you do.
They're buddies of mine.
Yeah, they said they liked you as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can't, I mean, it made me even more happy with my decision to work with Engage after speaking to a couple other companies, because I don't have a $100,000 commitment. And if I did now, I'd probably be happy that I did with the return that I've gotten. But that's a lot to ask somebody up front that you don't know their I don't know, their company, their practice, their work ethic. So yeah, a low barrier to entry, and then you're going to see the results you get every month. It's the most easy way to get into doing some good online marketing, and then you always reassess, right?
Yeah. And hey guys, and if it doesn't work, we'll refund you or work for free. It's like, I mean, what more do you want? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you only pay when people show up, and hey, if we don't get you a next number in X time period, we're gonna make things right with you.
I mean, literally my only fear is having so many people come to Engage that you're spread thin, but don't let that happen.
Dude, yes. I am totally aware of that. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm on it. Dr. Kevin, thank you so much for jumping on today. I really appreciate everything you had to share. Guys, hopefully you enjoyed this interview with Dr. Kevin. Dr. Kevin, thank you so much, man. Have an awesome day.
It was nice talking with you. Thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye.